brother and I used to go dumpster diving. We would look for garbage dumpsters, which we'd crawl into looking for empty bottles that we could cash in. And I would always take the quarters that I would get from my empty bottles to buy old back-issue copies of National Geographic magazines. The world to me was the images that I saw on those pages. We didn't have the money to travel outside of Red Deer, but the world, it beckoned me from a very young age. I always wanted to make a difference, but I don't remember ever being told that I had the power to do it. I didn't even know what career I wanted. So after high school, I just moved to the big city. I moved to Calgary and I started to work. And I was saving up as much money as I could so that I could buy a plane ticket to see the places in the pages of my childhood magazines. My first trip, which was a 6-week adventure that I took to Venezuela down in South America, showed me that the world was accessible to me. And for the next 7 years, I traveled all over the world. I went to over 50 countries, usually alone. It's my love of culture, of travels and stories that sparked an interest in journalism. And in my mid-20s, I bought myself a fancy camera and I took some photography classes. And then I based myself as a journalist in some hot spots like Afghanistan and Iraq. Working as a journalist was hard, but I felt like what I was doing mattered, and I liked that. After 7 months of living in Baghdad, Iraq, my eyes were then on the country of Somalia. I think you've already heard a little bit about Somalia out here today. It is one of the poorest countries in the entire world. It is a country that is largely ruled by armed extremist groups. And on my 3rd morning in Somalia, I set out with my colleagues to film an internally displaced people's camp, which was on the outskirts of the capital city, Mogadishu. As we drove towards the camp, we left the city limits and we approached a bend in the road. And as we rounded that corner, I could see a car pulled over up ahead. And then, in what seemed like a dream or a Hollywood movie, a dozen armed men emerged from where they had been hiding behind that car. Our car was forced to stop. Our doors were pulled open. We were pulled out. And the next thing I knew, I found myself lying face down on the dirt, spread eagle, with a gun held to the back of my head. They took my colleagues and I to an abandoned house. And the room that I was kept in was pitch black. My ankles were bound with a thick metal chain and 2 padlocks, which remained on my ankles for the next 10 months. I couldn't move. I could lie only on either of my 2 sides on the floor for 24 hours a day. I had lost everything I thought could ever be taken away from a person: the sky, the breeze, laughter, and light. But even though I was physically restrained, I could still choose my response to the oppression and the abuse that I was enduring. I could let it push me into hatred and despair, or I could choose to hang on to my own humanity, my own values, my own morals. I was stripped. Thank you. Of everything, all the parts of my identity which I knew to be me, but what I discovered there was the essence of myself. I discovered the human spirit. alive within me. And I began telling myself, with determination, I will survive. I choose freedom. I choose peace. And that if I were to have a second chance at life, I intend to make my life and my time on this planet matter. On November 25th, 2008, I was finally released from captivity. And because of that experience, I now have awareness of many things that I didn't before. I have awareness of war and of peace. And with awareness comes responsibility. In captivity, I made a promise to myself that if I made it out of Somalia alive, I would do something to contribute to prevent generations from being shaped by violence. So while I was locked up in the dark house, I began to make plans for an organization that I hoped to one day create. Today, that organization has created and implemented programs to fund university education, sports teams, primary schools. We've even started a women's literacy school for Somali refugees in Kenya. I've raised a couple $1 million to support over 200,000 Somali people. I want to tell you all that the greatest gift that you have been given is the gift of your imagination. You can use the words I am as a powerful declaration of who you want to be. I do this every day, not just saying I want to or I'm going to. No, I say I am compassionate. I am part of positive change. To move our dreams forward, no matter what. And it's never about what happens to you. It's always about what to do with it. There are always choices for us to make. Every day, every hour offers us the opportunity to decide who we want to be and what we feel responsible for.
Incredible story from Amanda. Thank you so much for